Call the meeting to order. And where's Connie? Secretary. Oh,
Yep.
you take attendance? Okay,
Roll call.
thank you.
Speaking to the microphone a little more.
Is it on? Okay. Can you all hear me?
Down,
So there are 7 members of the board appointed by the city. We're here mostly to listen to you as opposed to you listening to us.
We
we-
need to do roll call first before
Yeah,
we get started.
I thought you had taken the roll call. Okay.
for you. Downing,
All right, Downing.
She's doing it. She's doing it.
She's doing it.
Okay, that's what. Okay.
Clark,
Here.
Jensen, McConnell,
Here.
Meckus,
Here.
Atkins,
Here.
Schwint.
So we barely have a quorum. We also here with the attorney appointed by the city to help us out, so we have legal backup.
And the chief.
I'm sorry?
And the chief is here.
And the chief of police is here. I'm not sure he wants that to be known. Okay. So you may direct questions at any of us. So as I mentioned, there are 7 members, 4 of whom are here. We are really an advisory board. We don't have any legal obligations or responsibilities, but we do advise the city council, and also we have some feedback for the chief of police. We listen to and read complaints. We act upon them and decide whether they are sustained or not sustained. We give reasons for that, and we review evidence, including body cameras and other cameras that may be on the vehicle, on the police vehicle.
Shall we introduce ourselves?
So that's about the introduction of it. The next item on the agenda is to consider a motion to accept correspondence or other documents, which we do not have. We haven't received anything, right? Correct? Okay.
So, I'd like to introduce us, if we can introduce ourselves. I think
Absolutely.
that'd be great.
And as we are about to open it to the public, I'd like to have each member of the board introduce themselves. We'll go from left to right.
So I'm Jessica Hobart Collis.
I'm Jerry McConnell.
And I'm Saul Meckes.
Hi there, I'm Colette Atkins. Nice to have you all here.
And my name is Pat Ford. I'm not a board member. I'm the legal counsel for the board.
Okay, so we'll
Maybe we should just give a description of how the process works.
to where?
To how the process works. That involves a complaint, who's eligible to file a complaint.
Well, go ahead. Any one of us can have some input.
Okay. We want to explain the process of how you make a complaint and what happens after you make a complaint. First of all, anybody who feels that they have a complaint against a police officer may make a report to the board or to the police department. The board, as soon as it gets it, makes the report available to the police, and then Chief Liston does his own investigation of what has happened. He sends us a written response telling us whether he feels that the complaint is really violated norms of the police office or has not. We then watch the body cameras of the police who are involved in the complaint. After that, after reading the report from the chief, and after we see what actually happened, then we can make a decision as to whether that complaint actually is something against policy or is something that happened under policy that's there already. Anyone who makes a complaint has to either have felt that they have a complaint or that someone has been there and seen it. They can't see something on television and go, oh, I want to report that, that's wrong, or hear it on social media. You have to be present. When the report is being made, the police department meets with the person who has the complaint before we get the letter from the chief.
All of that information is documented in the information that you picked up on the way in, so I think you can refer to that for additional context.
Any more?
Anything?
So would really like to hear from you.
I make a motion to accept any correspondence or documents that might be here.
You know, we don't have any. So we'll move that question.
Okay.
Can you come to
please?
the...
Do you guys
And your name, please?
I'm Angel. I just have a question. So when you submit, when anyone submits a complaint to Officer Liston, Chief Liston, do you guys do any audits or anything like that? Because my concern would be, let's just say something gets lost or anything like that. Do you guys do audits? And then are we able to see what the outcome of those complaints are and the demographics and just how does that, like, how do you guys hold him accountable?
After we have completed our job, the report that we make and the chief's report go to city council. And then they will be the ones who make it public. It will
Okay.
not be public until,
Until city
that
council.
time.
So where does the attorney come in? Just out of curiosity, I know that you're here. Where do you come in? When do they
Yeah,
consult with you?
I attend all the meetings. Sometimes a legal issue might arise, and so they ask advice of me
Oh, during the meetings?
during the meetings, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Angel, can you give us your last name too? We have to have your first name and last name.
It's Angel Taylor.
Thank you.
My name is Dean Abel. I'm an Iowa City resident. I understand the process of filing a complaint, but the Citizens Review Board reviews the complaints, but you're not empowered to actually make a decision about censoring an officer or changing a policy. The information you collect is presented to the chief, who makes any decision about an action to take. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay.
The order is backwards.
What was that?
The order is backwards. So the complaint gets submitted, Dustin Liston, Chief of Police. The complaint gets submitted to the board, which gets sent to me. And the police department does the initial investigation. I send the summary of the investigation and any evidence to the board, and then they review it and they make their determination as well. So, just the order was backwards, but that's how it works.
Thank you very much. I also asked this question at a previous forum. The board does have the phrase escapes me, but you can subpoena a witness to testify to the board. I know that that is true, but the last time I asked if that power had ever been used to subpoena, a year has gone past. I ask that question again. Has the board ever used its power to subpoena someone?
In my tenure on the board, no. Would you,
Not on the time I've been on.
and Pat, would you remember?
Yeah, as long as I've been counsel for the board, they've never issued a subpoena.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know that when that power was given to the board, there was a lot of concern. I think the board should have that power, but the board should also keep that in mind, that they can do that if they wish. That's my comment, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I might add that we review, you've attended a number of our meetings, and you've attended a number of our meetings, so you know how we proceed. But I might add that we review all of the evidence, cameras, including the complaint, of course, but cameras often that come from different directions, all of the officers as well as the vehicle, and based on that, we would know whether we would have to appeal to some kind of other witness documentation.
I understand that, Saul, but that all takes place in executive session, and so the public really does not know how you actually interact, and that's as it should be. But because of that lack of understanding, that's one reason why questions arise.
The executive session is really in order to protect the identity of the person, or the detail and the fact of the person who's putting in the complaints. But there are times when we've disagreed with the chief of police, not very often, but there are times. And there are times also where we've agreed with the chief of police conclusion, but still had some misgiving about how it was handled. So we do write that in. We do bring it in.
The first thing that we do once we get the case is decide on the level of investigation we're going to do. We have 4 or 5 choices, and one of them is to, subpoena a person, or, go further into it. We usually have only asked for further investigation 1 or 2 times in the years I've been on the board. But the first thing we do is decide on the level of investigation we do.
Yes.
If you know me, which most of you don't, say it again. Oh, Mary McCann. I don't like speaking in public, but I was really struck by last meeting that I had that was a large group of people. I had just immediately before learned from my brother that another one of our children was going to be deployed to a war zone. And I thought, you can do this, Mary. You're tough. You can just let that go. I walked into that room and saw somebody who reminded me of that child. And I was a mess. I couldn't remember my own name or anything else, but tonight I'm remembering. The Joint Emergency Communications Center data is something that I'm pretty much addicted to. I've been tracking for over a year, and it's to understand. I'm a person who understands towns, police forces, school districts, according to the numbers. that they reveal. I also understand businesses that way. And what I would just like to say tonight about reviewing the numbers from the middle of September through now into October, one of the things that really stood out to me was the amount of contact that is spent taking incident reports, understanding from the public all of the information that's needed to decide what has taken place, the public assistance, welfare checks, out for investigation follow-up, out with subjects, foot patrol, 1,848 times, many, many hours of time from the Iowa City Police Force is spent with the public and talking to them. And certainly, hopefully, time when they can voice their concerns freely. I was also taken by there being 222 mental distress or impairment calls that came in to the JECC, and Iowa City went out and did what they could in whatever their capacity was. I was also kind of blown away that there were 130 calls that were related to Iowa City pets, which is special, and I love the cat that I live with, but that was kind of a thing. There were 29 missing adults and juveniles in the past 4 weeks. Motor vehicle accidents, 200 that they responded to. I would have all of this printed off for you, but I ran out of printer ink. Theft, motor vehicle, 14 motor vehicles were stolen. They responded, the police force responded. Shoplifting, fraud, and identity theft, 160 times these things were reported to the JECC, and Iowa City responded. I just am taken by these numbers, and as I promised, I will get those numbers to you so that you can review those at your monthly meetings. But the amount of time that's spent here talking to people and being part of the community is unique. It's not that way everywhere. And so I think that when a complaint comes in, it will be taken very seriously. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Amos, and I live in Iowa City. I just have a short question. And you talked about the procedures and how you take in the information and for the review.
I'm not sure that's working.
It's not working? Okay, I'll just be loud.
Speak
Yes.
loud.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. So my name is Amos. I live in Iowa City here. So after you do a review and you find that there was some wrong done or the allegation probably was not right and somebody was wrong somewhere, what options do the citizens have? This is a matter of information and education for the public. Yeah. What do you recommend to the city, to the police commission, everywhere, or another entity?
I'm not sure I understood the question. Do you understand the question?
Is he asking about welfare coming in and taking?
So is your question if there was a wrong, a finding that we perceive to be wrong, a wrongdoing, is the question then what is the next step in the process?
Yes, but the commission is wrong. I mean, if the event, the activity that was given to you
Yep.
to make a review on,
Yep.
if you find that the complaint is not really just an allegation, that is not right. Yeah.
So if the allegation that was submitted is not is not true?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Somebody came with a complaint, and you do not reject the complaint. You say, we tend to agree with you. So that's the question. What is the remedy for that person? Which options does the person have so that the person can make those choices, educated choices? Yeah. because sometimes they might not know. So this is just a question of education.
I guess I need to, so are you saying that if he makes a decision and then they agree with his decision, what are their options after that? Like the hierarchy, like who can they take it to? Who can the person who made the complaint take it to? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, that's the question. And I'm not saying that it's always going to be a case where the police, I say that sometimes they could find a situation where actually they say, I don't know if that's possible, they say that the person was not wronged. And there could be a situation where they say, through their internal investigation, that the person was actually supposed to be the way the police acted.
You're asking that, do we find that the person's complaint is valid?
Yes.
Then we say that.
Did you say that? Okay.
We say that if that's the case.
Yeah, and in that, so if there was a wrong something done to the person that was wrong, that requires a remedy, and the lawyer, the city lawyer is here.
He's asking, he's saying if he makes his recommendation that it's like, let's say, not founded, and then you guys agree with his decision that it's unfounded, where can the person that still feels like they were wrong, where can they take it next? I would assume the Department of Justice or Iowa Civil Rights. Is that correct, counsel?
I think we'll have to take that question back and get back with you. Right, today is a opportunity for you all to share sort of what your concerns and thoughts are, and we can certainly take that question and get back to you or put it on an agenda in our future meeting to respond to.
But I do think that it's a legal question, so I'll ask.
Yeah, so I'm not sure I entirely understand the question, but let me say this, the board has no authority to discipline an officer. If that was your question, the board does not have that authority. It's only the chief of police that has that authority. The board can recommend discipline, but the board cannot discipline itself.
I think he was saying if both of these, if the commission and the officer both agree that it's unfounded, where can he go? Where can whoever go? So after that, what's the next step?
Yeah, as far as the complaint process with this board, there's no appeal to it. So our involvement just ends then.
So
Right.
you would take it to, if you feel.
So the decision remains with the person. You will communicate with the person that truly you are wrong. And both the review and the internal investigation has found that you are wrong. So it's upon the individual to take it upon there. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, but let's say we've done our job. I'm going to maybe step over my boundary here. If we agree that the allegation was not sustainable, in other words, the person was right or was wrongly accused. That's what you're saying. So we would be saying that. Okay, we can't go beyond that, but the person does have the paperwork that says, look, the review board looked at it and assessed the evidence, and they found that I was right. So whoever that person is accused, would have to appear in court, or would have to go somewhere where that person is accused, and would have our essentially support saying that person was correct.
Thank you.
Thanks for the help.
My name is Allison McGough. I've lived in Iowa City for about 35 years. I love the downtown area, but what I've noticed lately is lots of scooters, bicyclists cruising down through the Ped Mall. And there was a time where there was signs posted, no bikes allowed, no no bike riding allowed.
Guilty, sorry. I knew that. I read really slow.
Well, I'm talking about people who use me as like a slalom post, you know? Late to class, and it really, they look like they're having fun doing it too. So I just wonder what happened. I don't see that being enforced anymore. And if, a couple of adults going down the Ped Mall on a bike, that's permission for us all to do it.
There have been cases like that coming up, including skateboard, which are even
Yes.
more dangerous. And I think the chief of police can address
So
that.
it is still, the signs are marked, it's still illegal, and we enforce it when we can, but absolutely, we've noticed that too. And when we get complaints, we have a downtown liaison officer where that is his job to be down there. He's probably the one you most likely see enforcing it, but we also have officers assigned to areas. That's area 1, there's always someone assigned there. So we do enforce it, and we do write citations. And it is, and now especially with scooters, we didn't see many scooters until a few years ago. So it's still against city ordinance, and you can get a citation.
Chief Wilson, I know you go by Dustin too, but, can you tell me what streets again that we should not have our bicycle on downtown? There's certain ones that we can, and certain ones we can't.
Right. Anywhere in the downtown, the Ped Mall specifically, you'll see the signs marked. They're marked on the ground, and they're marked like right when you get into the Ped Mall. So it's College and Dubuque. The long intersection of College and Dubuque.
Okay, and any others?
That's the one that comes to mind. That's the one that we're most concerned with. It extends a little farther downtown. I don't have the map memorized, but it's well marked. And just like any other, whether it be traffic offense or anything like that, it has to be marked in order for us to be able to enforce it. So,
It's real scary riding on the street.
I understand that.
The Ped Mall, there's no excuse for getting
Right.
riding my bike on the Ped Mall. But I'm talking really, really slow, or I almost fall off my bike.
Yeah.
And I say, excuse me, oh, I'm so sorry. I won't do it anymore, I promise. I promise. Not feeling guilty.
I'm thinking like Washington Street sidewalks, often they're crowded with people.
Yeah.
In and out of the theater and restaurants, that would be another sidewalk place that I'd be concerned about people riding bikes
Yeah,
or scooters.
I get it. I'm scared of the street.
And there were a couple of cases that were brought up in front of it, and we have expressed that concern, especially in the area of senior citizens who are on walkers or wheelchairs, who may not have the mobility that you have to avoid. We did express that concern.
I just think that's a hard thing to enforce. It seems like we have to take extra measures to do that. Maybe one liaison person downtown enforcing it. I don't know, it just seems out of hand. I do remember calling on 2 occasions when there was a kid riding around, speeding around the block on the Ped Mall, just going as fast as he could, round and round, and posing danger to people. And I remember calling that in, and the police did find him a few blocks away. But there's been so many other incidents. I just think for it to be left on the shoulders of one person to enforce it, it just doesn't seem realistic. I don't have the answer either.
Generally speaking, in Coralville, I ride everywhere. I never know.
Someone,
In Coralville on the side.
would you come forward?
I almost got killed by a scooter.
If you're going to have a private conversation, do it in the hallway, but let's address the board with concerns that we have. So, thank you. But you're
You
not.
don't need to say thank you because you don't mean it. So, but, okay, next.
Well, I am new to this, okay? So I don't know if my question's appropriate. If it's not, just let me know.
Can we have your first and last name?
Oh, it's Brenda Taylor.
Thank you.
I've lived here about 3 years now, so lots of neat stuff going on here. Okay, I had an unexpected event that it's the first Sunday morning in July, about 9:30. It was so quiet out. I just thought I was the luckiest person to get through Hy-Vee real quick down on Dodge Street, or the Highway 6. I was leaving at the light that's in between, say, the Casey's and the Hy-Vee, probably around the stuff store. and I was trying to cross over Highway 6 and turn left. So I had the green. I saw 2 cars coming down to my right from the Casey's. They were parallel, going slow, slowing down. I had the green, so I figured, okay, well, they're stopping, I better go, right? So I started getting out, and then the one in the lane closest to me totally floored it and tried to T-bone my car. And I ended up with a lot of whiplash and concussion issues that I'm still dealing with. And it's cost me considerable out of pocket with some of the other ramifications of it all. But what I finally went and asked if that recording was active, and they said yes at that intersection, but they only keep them for 7 days. Well, you know, I couldn't even hardly get out of my room for 7 days because I was like living in my closet in the dark, trying to deal with this concussion. So I don't know. I have friends that tell me they know people that, you know, had gotten some restitution, maybe not in Iowa City, but just like 1 week, is that really all they can keep a record of? When somebody's breaking the law, running a red light, and trying to T-bone your car, I just find that kind of hard to believe, but I don't really want to go get a lawyer and, you know, make a big deal, but I you know, it might be the next person maybe won't have as quick a reflexes as I did because I had to totally gun it and totally turn really fast left, and you know, maybe the next person will get hit and have a worse outcome. So I don't know. That's just kind of my concern on a safety event, you know. Thank you.
First off, sorry that you were involved in that. The camera systems are not the police departments. They're run by city engineering, and they have storage issues. We can't store things for, in fact, many of my officers have the same complaint when a crime gets reported and we go to look for the camera footage and sometimes it's gone. So I can appreciate your complaint. Unfortunately, we can only work with we've shared our complaints with the appropriate city departments, and they try to help when they can. But the amount of cost or the financial cost of storing data, the police department itself spends hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to store a body-worn camera, and that's not talking about all these cameras that are around town. So that's the limiting factor, is the storage. So they have to have the 7 days sounds about right to me, is what they have. I'm sorry you dealt with that. Again, we share the same concern because we go look for evidence of a crime like you're talking about, and we can't find the evidence either because it's gone. It'd be great if we lived in a perfect world, we had unlimited resources, and we can store the data forever. I know there are some people in the community would prefer we not store it at all. So we have to deal with those concerns as well. But I can certainly appreciate your concern.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, I'm not trying to contradict you, but I'm just saying, it just seemed like maybe there should be some other workaround, you know, with all the high-tech stuff, and I don't even know whether to bring this up, but, you know, I keep hearing that there's sensors everywhere, and the internet of everything, and the internet of bodies, and all this stuff. I don't know if it's all true or not, but it just seems like if it's not the cameras, that there's satellites and other stuff. I got 2 brothers that have been at Rockwell their whole career working on GPS and other stuff. And it seems like there's all kinds of stuff they're tracking, but they don't necessarily want everybody to know, you know? I mean, couldn't they even do like a satellite check? Or, I mean, I knew people that used to be in the military, they'd come back and beat the hell out of their wife's boyfriend because they could check on them when they were in the military, you know? I don't know. I mean, they could see somebody else's car in the driveway and the license plate, so.
Yeah, well, the Iowa City Police Department does not have access to satellite video, so I don't think we could be helpful there.
I just didn't know, you know, if there was, you know, something else that would be able to do more, you know, with less money, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I have to I have to stress that what we hear are and what we act on is based on complaint that come to us. So if there is no complaint, we haven't heard it. We do on occasion see what is happening on videos or on complaint and go beyond that and say we are also concerned, as with the skaters or the bicycles, and we do express that concern. But unless a complaint comes to us, we really can't act on them.
So would that be considered a complaint with what I mentioned? Would that be an official complaint? Or does it have to be an incident?
There would have to be an incident, and once the incident is there, if the chief of police only acts on the incidents, then we do. Well, let me give you an example where someone was stopped for skating at least 50 times, and there was a complaint by that very person for being stopped. We did express concern about why is it after 3 times, 10 times that this is occurring? Where are the social workers? Where are the counselors? Where are all of these people that the city is paying for that should be addressing that problem? So we do bring that up.
I want to clarify, too, that the board only reviews complaints made against officers. So an allegation of misconduct by an officer. So this board would not review any sort of complaint between private citizens.
But one of the most common complaints I get, though, is on traffic complaints. Very similar to what you just. So you've shared that complaint with me, and I will make sure my staff addresses it. So that's probably the most common complaint, not necessarily the bicyclists in the ped mall, but people racing up and down someone's street or something like that. The complaints, as Pat just pointed out, the complaints they deal with are allegations of misconduct by members of Iowa City Police Department. So.
Can I go on?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Short people got no reason to live.
Or you can hold it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Now I'm the one messing with it. I'm sorry. I don't need this. I yell when I talk. You've done community theater enough. So thank you. Thank you. My name is Barbara Jay. It's Jay. Chief Liston knows me, and he probably doesn't want to hear this again, but when I was here in the late 70s, early 80s, and it was a really nice community. And I know other communities have gone downhill, but I've seen this has really gone downhill here. And my big thing is, sorry again, that there's a lot of vehicles in every community I've lived in. I'm from Iowa, but I lived in Arkansas for a while, and I've never seen so many vehicles without license plates. So the bicycle, I have 4 bikes, I have 13 helmets, just bought a new one. And I'm afraid to drive my car. And I know that Chief Liston, when I was at a South District Neighborhood Association meeting, even though I don't live over there anymore, I still like to be involved and with all my volunteer work. And it just bothers me that I'm afraid to drive my car and having somebody with no liability hitting me. There are so many vehicles with no license plates, and the times I ride my bike slow just to have fun, look around, enjoy, I'll look down at the vehicle registration stickers for vehicles that have a plate, which is 99%, I'm sure, and they're expired. It really upsets me a lot. It just does. I've had liability since the 70s. I have $1 million liability policy with the condo and the home. But it's been a lot of the same vehicles on the far southeast side mostly that have gone, the whole 4 years I lived there, they never had a plate. So it's upsetting. It really is. Sorry. Oh, one more thing. Okay, so I know Chief Liston's heard me say this before too. And an officer told me this directly. I don't say names, I don't do that. This particular officer said years ago, and I think it was before Chief Liston, that people, they were told by city council and the mayor, this is years ago, supposedly, that they shouldn't stop people without license plates and expired vehicle registrations. Then the state of Iowa got a hold of that information. It's like, hey, that's illegal. But the practice continues. But Chief Liston explained to me it really doesn't continue. I just think it does because I saw the same plates. And it's till they like have a warrant for their arrest that maybe they're in trouble. But it just upsets me. That's all. And the stolen bicycles. The police know me very well from calling them in, stopping in. I see them everywhere. They're all over the place. North Liberty, Corville, Iowa City. Sorry.
Somebody else has a question.
Oh, sorry. I know I went on. This is upsetting.
Amos Kiche, Iowa City. This is a question on the legislatures of Iowa, state of Iowa, has embarked on a legislation to ban the review board like the one we have here in our community. That is not allowed. So I'm just asking, in the event that your commission is found not needed by the state, what do you think the community will be doing when it comes to issues of complaints? I believe the work you've been doing has been very important to the community. Personally, I sit in a commission where I had to look at some of the reports on the things that you do. And in one area, the report you gave out, I think maybe 10 years ago, that the commission gave out was very important, and it triggered a study that the department did to get some information on some issues that were affecting community members. So in the event that your commission is banned, as people who have sat in the commission and have known the usefulness of the commission, it gives the community some level of trust on where to go. Some people are really usually afraid to even just step into the police station to make a complaint. These are generally people of color, immigrants, and other people. So what do you think we are going to do based on your experience on the complaints? So that's one question. The other question on the issues of annual reports. I see you collect some information there voluntarily from the complaints, and today I don't see anything like that, but I know usually there's a calendar in which you issue your annual reports. So I was wondering, because the community wants to see how good we are doing so that we have confidence in our different departments. So you want to see also, well, there are not very many complaints. There are some years when there used to be a lot of complaints, and those things are not happening anymore. So people are doing really good. But if that information is missing in the community, then there's always a lot of uncertainties, mistrust here, and there. And so I'm just wondering what you're working on in the area of releasing us reports on the types of complaints. Just the details, the data that is going to help somebody make decisions. Okay, what are the complaints about? Who is being complained about? Things like that. Thank you.
You have any?
I can respond briefly if you want. So, Amos, the board releases a report every year that summarizes every complaint, the process that was followed for every complaint that was submitted during that year, and those are all public record. They're on the board's website.
Just to piggyback off what I had asked the first time. So during the complaint process, when the person files a complaint and you guys are like, investigating the officer and the complaint, is there a time where they're able to mediate? So the chief or the board or whatever with the person that's filing the complaint and the officer, because I think that sometimes communication is good, obviously. It can be, I'm not a person that's just straight about punitive consequences. I think that sometimes it could be miscommunication, maybe between the officer, whoever. So do people have an opportunity to, do you guys mediate with the complainant and the officer? And from that point, you know what I mean? And then if it can't be resolved through communicating, then, obviously, I'm sure that you guys would continue on, but who would want to answer that? So are they given a chance to mediate? Or is it just a complaint and investigation and if not, are you guys able to maybe consider having the complainant and the officer, sit down prior to, just mediate? Thank you.
They do, the police department does meet with the person who's filing the complaint before they do their investigation even.
Right, but that person, the officer that's being complained on, and that person, sometimes it could be miscommunication, tempers flaring, and then maybe something can be resolved just through a simple conversation, you know what I mean? Because I can imagine, I don't know, is that?
Well, criminally, we do stuff like that. Administratively, the problem is the code prohibits us from releasing personnel records, and discipline is personnel records, and that's a challenge for this body too. One of the things that you've alluded to before, Mr. Abel, is they don't get to know the identity of the officer, and that makes their job very challenging. But that's the way the code is written, and I can't release disciplinary records. The only thing that I can release is if a person was terminated.
No, I mean prior to it even getting to disciplinary. Does that officer and that person that's filed against the officer, can they sit down and have a discussion?
They do not. They do not meet with the officer. They meet with the investigating officer. So, no. That's something I'd have to consider, but that's not a.
I'm just saying, for me, I feel like everything can be like a learning lesson. Maybe the officer, you just don't know, So for me, just before I jump into something punitive, maybe I do believe in second chances. So that's why I was just wondering, sometimes, I don't know.
No.
Yeah, so Angel, I can step in here real quick, and I just want to explain that every power of this board is limited by what the ordinance gives. So the board was created by a city ordinance. Every power that the board has is listed in that ordinance. So right now, as it's written, there's no ability for this board to act as any sort of mediator. It's just we have to follow what the ordinance says. So we can't say to the complainant and to the officer, why don't you sit down and work it out? That's just not something that the board has the power to do.
There's something close to that when we review the body cameras or the vehicle cameras, where we see the interaction between the person, the complainant, and the police officer, and we hear them going back and forth. So in that sense, we do have that kind of testimony, and then based on that, some input, and there are times where we do see, although everything was done legally, that we have some misgiving about about the language or how the person, and we do how the person was treated, and we do make a statement as such.
I just think that sometimes, obviously, when an officer sometimes is dealing with a person, they're not at their best sometimes, and then obviously the officer may not, their job, their worry, I'm sure, is just to get me safely, right? So that's why I was just curious just curious, is that something? Because I think for the most part, I was city, we all had our fair shares, but I think that a lot of the officers on it, I know they do good. And I guess I think we all have our bad days. So sometimes when we file complaints, it's out of anger in that moment, but then we regret it. You know what I mean? So that's why I was just before I jump into something punitive.
The police department does have a coordinator that can evaluate situations and then make referrals for counseling or child welfare or whatever it is they need to make a referral for. So people are getting more attention than just the police saying you can't do that anymore, or I understand, but, and we have no power to do that. So hopefully it'll make you feel better to know there is someone within the police organization that can and does meet with people, and not only those who make complaints to us. It's a good program.
Please.
So you do handle complaints. Do you also, in the review board, review what is happening else, like issues of procedures, recommendations by the city council, changes in ordinances and other things? This is a question of compliance. Is it also the duty of the review board to make sure that some issues of legislation, directions from the city council or from the state and other things like that are being followed, and to what extent? And can the community know that that is being done? How does the community know that that is being done?
Yeah, Amos, that's not the role of this board. This board generally has two duties. One is to review those complaints that we've been talking about, but the second main duty is to review existing policies that the police have put in place. So policies and practices, this board reviews it and can make recommendations for changes, but I don't think that's exactly what you were asking about.
I'm asking, that is part of what I'm asking. So you review policies put in by the department, and these are our procedures and things like that. So what's the purpose of reviewing that?
The purpose of reviewing a policy?
What's your purpose for reviewing procedures put up or suggested or proposed by the department?
If the board thinks that procedure or policy needs to be revised, the board will discuss that and make that recommendation to the police department.
Okay, yeah, so that was the main question too. Yeah.
And today's forum is for you all to give us feedback on those policies and procedures for the police department that help impact what recommendations we might provide to the police department regarding the policies and procedures.
Okay.
Yeah, and I want to clarify too, sorry. This only applies to policies of the police department. So we don't look at any other policies of the city or the state or anything else, just the Iowa City Police Department policies.
Okay.
Let me give you an example where we expressed some concern. We expressed some concern at one time about the choke hold policy, the dangerous maneuver. At that point, we asked the chief of police, what is our policy on that? We have some misgiving about this or some question about it, and we asked the chief of police to clarify that. And he did, telling us what the state legislature has done, what the city has done, and what the policy of the police department in Iowa City is. We have that kind of maybe it's psychological power, not really legislative power, but the kind of power that we express concern that is in writing and is publicly known, and then maybe the chief of police could give us clarify that example that came up, and using that example as what we can do.
Sure. As Pat mentioned, there are two functions, are the complaints and the reviewing policy. And every time we update a policy, they see it, but our policies are all online. Our existing policy manual is online, so anyone can look at it. And it's their job to do that. And many times throughout the 4 years I've been here, they've looked at it. Sometimes it's minor changes, a little bit of a word change, but sometimes they have major concerns. Like Saul was saying, the state legislature completely outlawed across the state chokeholds. We had already outlawed that probably a decade before, but they wanted to make sure we were in line, so they asked, and then they had some questions about the wording. But I think that's probably the biggest task that they have, is reviewing our policy. We've got hundreds and hundreds of pages of policy, and that was one of the things we were talking about the last meeting, how they get a schedule down to make sure they review all of our policy. But that's an important thing, because sometimes that's what this board exists for to receive input from you, and then they have a direct line to me. I meet with them once a month, unless I happen to be out of town, but it seems like I'm usually there. So they have a direct conduit to me to give me their recommendations.
But I also heard from the legal person that they do not do anything else other than those complaints and the procedures from that. So the community may be having some complaints. How do they get that, and how is that to be done through the council? Proposals through the council, or can somebody just come in here? It's not a complaint of like a police officer did this to me. It's a complaint about procedure, just like the questions of data collection and other things. So that if somebody is looking at that, how is that also part of what you do?
You could provide the recommendation of what you would like to see with a change in policy or procedure to us, because that's one of our responsibilities then, is to take that forward to the police chief. So if it's on as stated before, one of our responsibilities is to review policies and procedures for the police. If you have a recommendation, then you could share that with us either here. You could come to one of our meetings, and I think during the open session time, you could share that information, or you could reach out to one of us directly and share that with us. So our two primary responsibilities are to respond to complaints, and secondly is to give recommendations on any changes to Iowa City Police policies and procedures. So do you have something today that you'd want to share that you're concerned about from a policy or procedure perspective regarding the Iowa City Police?
I do not have one at this time.
Okay.
But that could not be a very good moment to launch that.
That's great. So if you do, we
yes.
recommend that you come to one of our meetings or to reach out to one of us and share it with us, and we can bring it forward in our next meeting as well.
Okay. Thank you.
And I think I would just add that that's really where the trust with our board comes from with the community, is trusting us with your concerns and allowing us to take that back and address those concerns. And it's important to remember that, you're an advocate. If we don't know about something that's going on, then we don't know. So definitely bring that stuff forward to us and those concerns.
Our meetings are the second Tuesday of every month. And you are welcome to come. We have several people here who I've seen at our meetings. The public is given a very short time to state what they want to state. We put it under our agenda for the next meeting to further discuss it. So, like I said, you're all welcome. We meet at City Hall. I forget the name of the room. It's right by the police department. And you're welcome to come and attend those meetings. Pardon? Oh, okay. What's the name? I couldn't hear what she said.
I think the Helling room. Helling room, yep.
Helver, okay.
So, yeah.
Got too many things in my head. Okay.
Any other question or comment? Doesn't have to be a question.
We should wind up pretty soon.
Okay, then we'll end the meeting, and I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Make the motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, meeting is adjourned. We'll still be around if you have some questions,